All right, welcome to my story hour. I'm going to do a little quick video of the first part of Sigurd and Gudrun. It is comes from some people might call it Norse, but more correctly, it's Icelandic lore mythology, and then Tolkien and others, and then Tolkien took it and put it in English and couched it in Anglo-Saxon type art. So the way I'm going to read it is I've watched Time Team and other experts do Anglo-Saxon, and they didn't write anything down. They loved to have theater and opera and songs and sing. So, if I act out on this, I'm not weird. This is how they did, poetry. This was their YouTube in the days. And so I'm gonna, it was, so Tolkien basically compiled it, and then his son put it together and released it. And the reason why I'm covering this too is a couple of things. If you're like me, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, and you're a fan of the Marvel Studios Thor, the Mighty Thor, the Hammer, the Avengers and all that, you'll love this. So Heimdall, all these people, that's where they got all those ideas from. Stan Lee, and then of course the movie makers of today who've now doing the new movies, which I love also. And so I recently watched a movie on Tolkien, his life, and there was a scene, a really good scene if you haven't seen the movie Tolkien, of where he's about 14 or something like that, and he's with his younger brother Hillary, and his mother is reading a story, and they have these things where there's a candle and it spins around. So there's dragons going around the wall. That was their video of the day, and she's reading, and she's standing there in the middle of the room, reading them a bedtime story, whatever. And this is what she's reading to him right here, Sigurd and Gudrun. And so later on, he loved to compile it, and you can obviously see in it that it inspired The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. He got the dwarves from these mythology and stuff like that. So without further ado, I'm going to read the first part, which is, somewhat like the Genesis in the Bible and stuff like that. So keep that in mind and look out for Thor and Heimdall coming up, and Wolf and all that cool stuff in the Thor movies. So here we go. Volskungang vida and Neja. Uphaf, the beginning. Of old was an age when was emptiness. There was sand nor sea, nor surging waves. Unwrought was earth, unroofed was heaven, an abyss yawning and no blade of grass. The great gods then began their toil. The wondrous world they well builded. From the south the sun, from seas rising, gleamed down on grass, green at morning. They hall and hollow, high up towering, gleamed gabled, golden posted, rock-hewn ramparts, reared in splendor, forged in fortress, framed immortal. Unmarried their mirth in many a court, where men they made of their minds cunning. Under hills of heaven, on high builded, they lived in laughter long years ago. Dread shapes arose from the dim spaces, over sheer mountains, by the shoreless sea, friends of darkness, foes immortal, old, unbegotten, out of ancient void. To the world came war, the walls of gods, giants beleaguered. Joy was ended. The mountains were moved, mighty ocean surged and thundered, the sun trembled. The gods gathered on golden thrones, of doom and death deeply pondered. How fate should be fended, their foes vanquished, their labor healed, light rekindled. In forge's fire of flaming wrath was heaviest hammer hewn and wielded. Thunder and lightning for the mighty flung among them, felled and sundered. In fear then fled they, foes immortal, from the walls beaten, watched unceasing, ringed earth around with roaring sea and mountains of ice on the margin of the world. A seer, long silent, her song upraised, the halls hearkened, on high she stood, of doom and death, dark words she spake, of the last battle of the leaguered gods. The horn of Heimdall I hear ringing, the blazing bridge bends neath horsemen, the ash tree is groaning, his arms trembling, the wolf waking, warriors riding. The sword of Surt smoketh redly, the slumbering serpent in the sea moveth, a shadowy ship from shores of hell legions bringeth to the last battle. The wolf Fenrir waits for Odin, for Frey the fair, the flames of Surt, the deep dragon shall be doom of Thor. Shall all be ended? Shall earth perish? If in lay of doom when deathless stands, who death hath tasted and dies no more, the serpent slayer, seed of Odin, that all shall not end, nor earth perish. On his head shall be helm, in his hand lightning, afire his spirit, in his face splendor. The serpent shall shiver, and Surt waver, the wolf be vanquished, and the world rescued. The gods were gathered on guarded heights of doom and death. Deep they pondered. Sun they rekindled. The silver moon they set to sail on seas of stars. Frey and Freya, fair things planted, trees and flowers, trembling grasses. Thor in chariot thundered o'er them, through heaven's gateways to the hills of stone. Ever would Odin on earth wander, weighed with wisdom, woe foreknowing. The Lord of lords and leaguered gods, his seed sowing, sire of heroes. Valhall he built, vast and shining. Shields the tiles were, shafts the rafters. Ravens flew thence over realms of earth. At the doors an eagle darkly waited. The guests were many, grim their singing, boar's flesh eating, beakers draining, mighty ones of earth, mail-clad sitting. For one they waited, the world chosen. And that's the end of the first part, the beginning. A couple notes I wanted to add that I didn't add in the beginning. It speaks about an ash tree. And if you study Norse literature like I did, you'll find out that the ash tree was very important. It was readily available. You could break it down. You wouldn't have to wait for the wood to dry. You can immediately start a fire with it. Important in cold areas. You could make good weapons and spears from it. It was very strong, easy to carve. They could make shelter from it. It was very, very sacred tree. The ash tree, ASH tree, was very sacred too. So if you're going to follow Thor with the the bridge, what do you call it, Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, and Thor and Valhalla and all that, you got to get to really know it. The ash tree was really sacred, the wolf and all that. And they changed a little bit in the movie. Hel, Hel, the goddess of death in the underworld, was not the sister of Thor and Loki. Was actually Loki's daughter. So I guess they thought it made it creepy, him killing and taking on his daughter. So she became the bad sister, and they changed that for the movie. But it still fit in with the mythology and everything. So I'll be doing more readings, and I recommend that check this out if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings and Thor and all that stuff, and old mythology and Anglo-Saxon stuff. Check this book out. Look for more readings from this. Thanks. Peace out.